Welcome to the Running Channel podcast with me, Sarah Hartley. I was away last week and didn't these two have fun without me? We've got Rick Kelsey. I don't have no words. And we also have Andy Baddeley, former Olympian, goes out and runs a little bit, might provide some useful information later on. I'm going to keep us to time this week because you two rattled on for 45 minutes last week.
42 minutes, actually, I think it was.
Actually 44 if you look at Spotify.
It?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Don't you worry, I listened to it this morning. But importantly, today's episode, we are talking about mental resilience in running and how to support your mental health in running. A lot of people talk about how running is their form of therapy. It's not a replacement for therapy, but it can be really useful to help you get through things in life or to give you that kind of bit of peace and quiet out of your busy day. So how do we all build mental resilience in running? We're going to go through it.
I thought you said you were going to keep the intro short.
That was quite short.
You didn't even let us talk.
Oh, yeah. I missed a whole episode last week, so I've got a lot of catching up to do.
Is it worth us even being here?
Yeah. We're also going to talk about the latest running news and answer your questions, which is obviously our favourite bit. So should we get stuck in?
Let's do it.
Should we, just before we do dive in to the catch-up, I'm going to put something in about the topic, which we're talking about mental resilience, and we're going to use the phrases mental health and mental resilience, mental strength, all that sort of thing. And there is a difference between those things. So we'll come on to that later. I think there's a difference between talking about mental health and talking about mental strength. So just a little teaser that we should talk about that later as well.
No, nice. Completely agree. And speaking of strength, it was tough on me and Andy for you not being here last week. We missed you a lot. Although the episode actually did really well.
Yeah, it did do really well. Do you know why it did really well? Because you decided to announce my engagement to the entire world.
I knew you were going to bring this up.
Let's caveat this to start off with. I am not engaged. I am not engaged at all. No, you decided to tell our lovely listeners
what I said, Sarah, was she's amazingly efficient. She enables herself to do so many things in one day, such as move house, get a dog, probably, upgrade her job, probably get engaged. It was a flippant throwaway remark. Right. I was talking about how efficient you can be in such a short period of time.
I was being very efficient. I had some time off work. I didn't have to sit with you two idiots for a whole week.
Yeah, you moved to the country.
I was out enjoying country life, running, and on Strava, I got a comment saying, congratulations on your engagement.
Really?
Which made me think, and do you want to know what the worst thing is? Is my immediate thought was, what did they say on the podcast? That was my immediate thought.
Hey, don't bring me into this one. That one's all Rick. So the funny thing here as well, I think you protest too much. Like as if you're trying to make a case to all of the lovely viewers and listeners out there. Don't worry, I'm still on the market. I'm still available. I'm open to offers. Is that what you're saying?
Hey, keep your options open.
She says she moves in with a fella.
Yeah, you literally just moved in together, bought your first house together. Congratulations.
Well done, Sarah.
You.
Yeah, it's really cool.
How's the country? How's country life?
Oh my gosh. I was thinking about how to describe the move because I've moved from relatively central London out to the wonderful kind of countryside. Anyone who lives proper countryside, in the hills, no one around for miles, humour me here.
Yes, it's not that.
It's not that. It's central Bedfordshire. It's still commutable to London. But the only way I can describe it is it feels like just at all times I've just taken a deep breath. Lovely. Nice. It's peaceful.
That's because you probably have. There's no kind of black
There's no
lung.
Pollution, yeah. I can blow my nose and it's not grey anymore.
Can we revisit something that when you first started looking in this particular area, what was it that your mum said to you? She gave you a little word of warning about me, didn't she?
Oh yeah, she was like, careful, Andy will ask you to babysit.
That'll be good practice for your engagement.
Oh God. Literally the other, so 2 days in, we were driving somewhere and I saw on a road sign where your kids go to school was labelled and I was like, oh my God, how close are we? But it was still far enough.
When you say
far enough,
far enough that it's not like pop over to feed the cats.
No, I get your point. Where you say where Andy's kids go to school, it's only his kids in that school.
Yeah, that
there's no room for other people's children.
It's literally called
Ofsted says
the
no.
Andy Baddeley School of Excellence.
A lot of people have to worry about catchment areas for their schools. But if you are the catchment area, then you are onto a winner. So thanks very much.
It's great.
Once
one's in.
Yeah. Sibling
We've got
discount.
The sibling discount.
They don't need to private school.
Which means by child 40, that's free.
Yeah, wow. It's free. It's
Well,
free. They go to a state school.
I feel a bit left alone, on my own now. I'm the last city
We're all
person on this.
north, though.
Yeah.
We're all
You're not
north.
really in the city,
Yeah,
are you?
you're not really.
Basically,
You love to-
Yeah,
I am.
you're miles out.
I am.
You
Oh,
are
look
miles
at
out,
this.
yeah.
The only person who properly
Yeah.
cares about where they live is Rick.
Oh,
like,
God,
look
here we
at
go.
his face.
Yeah, literally. No,
I
I-
live in the city, actually.
Well, not, out of the three of us, how many people have blocked off an entire street, got a crane in, and craned a hot tub over the back of the house?
Actually, yeah,
Once you
is
do that, that's a pretty big
Is that the
commitment.
difference? Because
Yes.
if you're in the city, you don't have side access, whereas
Yes,
in the
exactly.
countryside,
Yeah.
you
That's-
can wheel
you
your
just- yeah,
bin
exactly.
the whole
You
way
can,
around
you can
your
wheel
house.
your hot tub in.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the running show, I met one of the UK's main crane drivers for delivering hot tubs, and he's in the Running Channel Club.
Amazing.
That is, it never fails to amaze me, like the different stuff
diversity
that
of
people
runners.
can do for
Yeah, I
a
know.
job.
Yeah.
Like, not only I would have thought, like, and I didn't speak to them for that long, so maybe you do other things. Apologies if you're like, no, I do other stuff too. But it did sound like the whole job
that
was
was all just dropping off hot tubs.
dropping off.
Well, what's interesting though, I don't want to
Did you
speak
meet
for you,
him?
Sarah, but no, what's interesting here is that I feel like when I've been speaking to people at events like the National Running Show, they come up and they ask me like fairly specific questions about running. So I don't think I ever get to the point to find out that they deliver hot tubs for a living. So how either one, how long were you talking to this person for? Or two, do they have to dive straight in with
To
that
be
kind of
fair,
inane
no,
trivia because that's all they get from you?
And they're like, I'm not going to get anything
Yeah,
useful.
yeah.
So, shall we talk about running though? How's your
Yes.
running going, Rick?
I ran in the country the weekend.
Did you?
Actually, yeah.
Lovely. How was it?
It was, it was lovely to get out because last week I had a crazy week with work, and it's actually quite apt that we're talking about building mental strength in running, because I didn't actually get a chance to go out in the week last week just because work was so crazy. So
Because you worked a full 5 days.
4
Hours.
no, but I got out, and actually I really enjoyed myself. We did part with Chantal's turn to do parkrun on Saturday. Misty, murky, moody parkrun, but beautiful.
So did
because
you
the
run
weather's
at the
been-
weekend and didn't do parkrun?
I didn't do parkrun, then I ran in the country on Saturday afternoon.
That's
Chantal's
amazing.
in- yeah.
Nice.
Can I ask you though, which of your 2 paces did you run at?
I ran at pace A.
Which is
Is that the
what pace?
fast?
Fast or slow?
That's
Oh no, so fast or
that's-
medium fast?
yeah, that's 450 a kilometre.
Oh, really
Nice.
fast pace?
Yeah,
Oh no. Hang on.
pace A.
Phase A.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then what's
yeah,
pa-
yeah.
what's-
Because you're
Pace
like
B
half
is
marathon, half
Pace
marathon
B is
pace.
5:30.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So you got 2 paces.
There are only 2 paces. What about you two? Out?
Out in the countryside, yeah, because I moved like in the middle of the week. I kind of I did a really hard interval session on Tuesday, which is called aptly the Andy.
Yes.
Died.
That is the best running workout you can do in the world.
I would beg to differ. It was absolutely
We've done a
horrific.
YouTube video about it, and I think when we were putting together the script for it, someone decided that I don't know, it made me sound even more ridiculous that I called the session the Andy, but that's stuck now, so it is called the Andy.
Yeah, awful. It was so 4 for me. It was 4 by a K, and then I can't remember.
No, it's a
I
K, then a
Oh, yeah.
400 meter rep, and it's 4 of those.
Hang on,
Yeah.
it's got
Yeah.
a name, an official name.
Well, we at the running channel call it the Andy, and there was a YouTube video in which I refer to it as the Andy
Okay.
because I like to talk about myself.
So what's the benefit of doing this session?
So for me, it is getting pretty close now. When this comes out,
To
it will be
sub 20.
1 week to go until my sub 20 attempt.
Yeah.
And for me, it was part of that 5K training. So all of the K reps were faster than what I need to run in the 5K. And then all of the 400s were significantly faster. So I did the K reps at 350 per kilometre. I say I was supposed to.
355.
I
You were
did
really
it at
beating yourself up about
3:55.
this, and then I looked at your actual times that you run. It was great. Yeah, I think you nailed the session. You were just like a little bit slower than you wanted to be, but it was great.
Can you talk me
Yeah.
through the session again? Really,
So
what is it?
4 kilometres.
Yeah.
Split up into 1 kilometre I did it at 3:55 per kilometre, and then a 60 seconds rest. I'm looking at producer Owen, who's looking at it. No, it's all right. I think I can
I think it's
remember. You
90
can tell
seconds
me.
rest.
Oh, sorry. Okay, 90 seconds rest, then 400 metres fast.
Right.
And I
How fast is the K at?
the K was at 3:55 per
Okay.
kilometre.
So slightly quicker than the 20-minute race pace.
Well, and then
Yeah.
a rest, and you get rest.
A little bit of a rest.
How long?
I'm pretty sure it was only 200 metres, wasn't it?
200 meters. What walking?
200 metres rest.
What, and then sprinting.
It was jog. I like to call it a bit of a death march shuffle in that 200 meters, and then 400 meters where you pick up even more. So I needed to do 400 meters in 85 seconds, so 3:33 per kilometer. Didn't achieve that.
Yeah, but you still did a great job.
Like that, my sprinting pace would be 3:55.
Yeah,
so you're then having a rest and then sprinting faster. Than 3:55.
What I find funny in those sessions as well is that if you think of the paces like 3:55 and 3:33, that is they're like so kind of random. Obviously, I have been practicing like close to those paces, but it's incredible how you can dial into like what that feels like by the kind of third rep of doing it. But it is like the 3:33 was basically, do you feel like your lungs are about to give out? You're there.
But then you get a longer recovery. I think you got 3 or 4 minutes between each one.
So you do the sprint, then you do 4K. You do 4K.
Right, can I This is going to be awful to listen to. Please, can I tell everyone listening what the session actually was? It's making me so cross. The two of you between you are butchering it. There's 4 sets in total. Yeah. Each set is 1 kilometer at about 5K pace, slightly quicker than 5K pace. Then it's either 60 seconds or 90 seconds recovery. I can't remember which. Then it's 400 meters hard. Then you get 3 minutes recovery between sets. So it's K, 400, K, 400, K, 400, K, 400. Done.
I now understand what it is.
Okay.
I think I did an all right job of until that point. But yeah, so that was my running. And then all of the runs in the countryside were, the fastest I was going was half marathon pace, which was great because I was psyching myself up and I thought my half marathon pace was 4:45. So I was absolutely bricking it. Didn't know if there was anywhere flat that I could go to run.
Yeah, that's fast.
Then I realised, as I was heading out on the first run, that it's 4:58.
Oh, right.
Much better.
Nice.
Andy, how's your running going?
I hit a bit of a block last week. I think the podcast on Wednesday, we don't normally record on a Wednesday with Rick and Jess, just wore me out.
Yeah,
because I was absolutely exhausted. No, I by the end of the week, for whatever reason, early mornings, late nights, kids, middle of the night, and a bit of running and a bit of work stuff, just I was wiped out. So I had to do what I haven't been very good at in the past, which is take it easy over the weekend.
Nice.
And not run very much. So I ran a very easy run on Friday morning, and I've had the weekend off other than multiple kids' activities. So I'm sort of feeling starting to come out the other side of it, but I had to do what I'm not very good at. Take a step back and do what I would have told one of you to do if you told me how you're feeling on Friday last week.
Probably quite a good segue. If you hadn't have done that, because that's actually probably in the long run the best thing that you can do mentally to feel a bit stronger. If you hadn't have done that, what do you think the outcome would have been?
I think I'd have forced it, which is what I'd done the last few times when I got injured. I was feeling exactly like this, or like how I was at the end of last week. And then I forced it. I was like, well, I've got a workout on my plan. I'm going to go and do my workout. And then just because my whole body was fatigued and mentally I wasn't really up to it, then I got injured and then just so frustrated and then hit an even bigger low.
Yeah.
Whereas this time I feel the guilt of not having done the stuff I was meant to have done. But we constantly talk on the podcast about how actually the guilt's the main thing that you want to deal with. And so I messaged Andy, my coach, and told him how I was feeling. He was like, don't worry about it. And then that does assuage some of the guilt.
That's a typical Andy response.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Yeah. I think that's exactly what he said to me when I was like, Andy, I messed up this session. I was 5 seconds off. Don't worry about it. Yeah. It's fine. I think that's a really good point though, especially when it comes to building mental resilience, because actually there's a whole big part of running, I think, which is kind of like forgive and forget. And you have to do that. If you're an elite athlete, you are with other people or you're with your coach, like you constantly, it's not that hard to take that step of, oh, actually I'm feeling a little bit about this. Whereas when you are working off of a plan or an app, or even if you do have a coach, like they're not with you all of the time. So actually to take that step to message them and be like, is this a good idea? Because my default is always, I'll just crack on and do it. I don't want to text someone and say I don't want to do it. I'd soldiered
on previously and I think that was a bad idea. So, but there are going to be points in running where soldiering on is the right idea. You know, when things get tough in a marathon, you need to have the strategies in place to push through the discomfort and all that sort of stuff. At the same time as having the kind of, I guess, mental fortitude to make tough calls throughout your training, like I just did, and say, well, actually, no, it's not going to be right for me this weekend to run. So as we start to talk about mental health and mental strength, I was going to answer my own little question I said about the difference between mental strength and mental health.
Yeah.
And what I meant by that was that I think sometimes there's that if you admit that you suffer with something to do with mental health, that could be anxiety or depression or whatever it might be, that you're somehow also admitting that you're not mentally strong or mentally resilient, and that's not true at all. So that's the distinction I wanted to make, is that I think some people can feel like it's admitting a weakness, and therefore to acknowledge you having a mental health struggle of some way is saying I'm not mentally tough, I'm not mentally strong. Whereas in my experience, for example, I've dealt with some incredibly difficult things in my running career, the pressure of an Olympic final and all that sort of stuff. And I do feel like I'm an incredibly mentally strong, mentally resilient person when it comes to doing that stuff. But at the same time, I've had my own struggles with anxiety and depression and so on. And those two things can kind of coexist at once.
I think as well, you actually see it quite a lot in running. Like there are some incredible stories of like ultra runners or people who have taken on FKTs. FKT stands for, Rick?
Fastest known time.
Yeah, there we go. Loads of people who have taken on incredible, like world records, or even just, you know, go out. We mentioned a few episodes ago the person who holds the record for like the most amount of ultra runs in a row, not doing it for kind of any recognition or anything, just cracking on and doing it. Quite often you'll see with incredible endurance runners that they do really struggle with their mental health, but they have such incredible mental resilience in order they kind of find that way to kind of channel it in.
Yeah, so I wanted to just kick off by saying that if anyone's out there, and I think from a mental health standpoint, often people feel like, well, I'm not sad enough. I'm not depressed enough. I'm not anxious enough for that to be like, there's plenty of people out in the world that have it worse than me. That's a really common way of people sort of putting it to one side and not acknowledging it. And also feeling like it is some kind of sign of weakness. It's absolutely not. So we're here for anyone who's feeling like that in terms of listening to this. But we're also now here to help you to stay mentally strong in tough periods of running.
That's what's kind of, I suppose, interests me, because it's always nice to hear you speak so openly about, you know, some of the difficulties that you've been through. And you know, medically, a lot of people would class things like anxiety and depression as mental illnesses. Yeah. Whereas when people talk about building mental strength and like just day-to-day struggles for people who aren't having that level of difficulty, but just want to improve their running. And I think this is really interesting. So like how to build your mental strength in running, but just day-to-day. So how to improve, you know, say you're going for a time like Sarah's going for at the moment, sub 20. How to think, if you're thinking, if you're a bit like me, you're like, oh, you're running 22 and a half minutes. You're like, I don't think I could do that. And I know that that's probably more in my head. I mean, I probably don't think I could do sub 20, but I
don't know, you know, mate.
But
I don't think you're that far.
Well, I don't know, but it's certainly in my head. I'm telling myself, nah, I don't think I can do that.
Yeah.
So,
well, because you need a third pace.
Oh yeah, you mean pace C?
Yes, exactly.
But when we find pace C,
but weirdly your paces then go A, B being slower, and then C being the fastest.
That's correct.
But I think nothing sums you up more.
It's like a triangle.
I'm surprised you didn't say pace 3. No, so A, B, and 3.
No, but I think you've hit on a really good thing there. So when it comes to, we can all share our own versions of it. When it comes to building mental strength or mental resilience, for me, the biggest change that I've noticed in my running recently is just not in a naive way, but just absolute blind positivity. And I think that is the difference of before I was going into a session thinking, oh, I don't think I can really do this. Or like, I don't think that's me.
How did you get it?
Time. I think you can't force something that is going to be a dramatic change to your running. So whether that is a time-based goal or running a distance for the first time, you need to set yourself up for success. And I think a lot of people, and a lot of this will be kind of social media influence as well, it looks like at all times everyone is running a PB, the furthest they've ever run, and they're probably breaking a world record too. That isn't a reality for a lot of us. Like I'm looking at lots of people right now who are training for marathons and going for phenomenal times that I would love to attack one day. That for me, completely unrealistic.
So how did you turn it off?
I think you have to spend a little bit of time like looking at yourself and what you're capable of in this moment. So like right now, you have 2 young kids, you've got multiple jobs that you do for varying amounts of time per week. Is it realistic for you right now to be training? Like what do you think you're capable of training for right now, if anything?
Well, I think it is probably a lot in my head. I think I could probably knock a minute off, but I don't think I could get to where you're at.
Well, so here we go. Sarah, I think that you've spoken about it a lot on the podcast, and I'm wondering where you're feeling compared to your former self, say almost a year ago, or a few times you've had those wobbles. like actually it wasn't that long ago, was it? The half marathon in the autumn, I want to say, autumn 2024,
Yeah.
where you got to 18, 19 kilometers and we're just like, I can't do this anymore. So we are going to run this 5K together. And I think maybe we should have a little bit of immediate counselling on the call, on the podcast right now.
Yeah.
What do you need to hear from me? So what do you think you need to hear
good
from me in the
question.
5K? Because I know what I would say to you, and I know that in the past I've annoyed you by being a bit too aggressive. Isn't quite the right. Well, maybe aggressive is the word.
No, I think I do need that. So for me, I need to be set up for success.
Yeah.
So I was going to talk to you about this anyway. If the first kilometre is anything apart, the first kilometre needs to be between 3:58 and 4:02.
Okay, no pressure.
Anything apart from that, and I'm going to
Yeah.
crumble.
Wow.
Well, mate, how
that's
about we just
tight.
how about you don't
But-
have a watch on?
Yeah, maybe I just shouldn't. Maybe
And
I should
just
just
trust me.
cover it up.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, probably. I think I just need to put like blind trust in someone else, but I need that. I need like firm positivity.
Okay. So
I need like, you can do this, but only if you do this.
yeah, I think that's my standard. Like, well, I'll be like, we're on this, Sarah, but you're going to have to push hard now. Otherwise, you're not going to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's going to be the tough bit. So in any race, we've got in our notes here, like embrace discomfort. So, and I think this is a huge part of mental resilience during a race.
Yeah.
And it's different in a marathon or even a half marathon. That's embracing the discomfort, like the attritional discomfort that you're going to have for half an hour or an hour from the point at which you start to feel that.
Yeah.
The 5K is totally different. And it's very short-lived, but you have to flick the switch almost instantly to not just, because you can easily back off and lose 20 or 30 seconds just in 1 kilometer
Yeah.
if you give up the ghost. So I'm going to be there trying to stop you doing that. And then my mantra is that opportunity thing. I don't know whether that works for you or not, but that's my plan, is to tell you that at like 3.5K when it starts to get really hard, I'm going to say, this is your opportunity. If you want to run sub 20, you do it now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that coupled with mine is run the mile you're in.
Yeah.
And that I need that because I always get the most scared in like the first 2 kilometers.
Yeah.
Because that is, especially in a 5K, that's the make or break moment. But then I also, if you do just run the mile you're in, then you can just go through it. The other thing that I was going to touch on as well, the biggest thing that helps me to build mental strength, especially like race day for me, is never, well, so far, unless I've taken all the time pressure off, I would never describe race day as fun.
No.
It's like type 2 fun. But I think you can make it more fun by just thinking about race day in your training. So like never let it get to race day and you haven't thought about what the first kilometer is going to feel like or what the 4th kilometer is going to feel like. You have to put yourself through that, and all of your training is simulating race day.
Yeah.
So you can start to think about, okay, how am I going to feel in the 4th kilometer? How am I going to push through that?
Yeah.
If you can motivate yourself to do it in a park in the middle of winter,
Yeah, it's windy and horrible
when
and
it's
you're on your own.
yeah, then you can definitely do that in a race situation.
I think confidence through what you've done through your training really helps as well. Like, because you've had a real strict regime, repetition. You've done a lot of it, and I always talk about confidence through strength. Like, how do I feel like my body's not going to crack after the various surgeries that I've had? And that's because I know my body's strong. So the mental side of it is I don't believe my body will crack.
Yeah.
Because I've got confidence through repetition, because I've done those exercises and I put myself in a state so that when you two give me some stupid race in, God knows where, and says you've got to run this by,
Well, funnily enough, we're going to talk about that a bit later on in this episode.
right. and I know that I'm not going to crack, and the pain will be actually the physical pain on the day. Like, and Andy says, embrace the pain. Was it
Embrace the discomfort.
Embrace the discomfort.
I think, Sarah, on your, because that would have been my single most used technique prior to events or races, would be the night before I turn the lights off. Because you feel fine the night before a race, right? Everything, you don't feel too worried, you don't think you're worried, then you turn the light off and you lie down in bed and try to get to sleep, and then all of the thoughts come jumping in. So before that would happen, the last thing I would do is write some notes, and I would always write down some real positives, like I did this workout, I did this,
I love that.
Consistent training over the last thing, and like you'd say, Rick, I'm strong. I've made my body strong and resilient, and so that we're joking about calling it the Andy, but that workout that you've done, I sort of tried to say it to you, but I don't think you fully took it in. But in my mind, if you could do that, and each individual 1K rep faster than 4 minutes, which is 20-minute pace, and then the 400-meter efforts a little bit faster than that, then you can definitely run a sub 20-minute 5K. And you did that. So that's what I'd be writing down is, and you see, even then now you're like, oh, I don't know, it wasn't as fast as I thought it was going to be. I can see it in your eyes, but
I think it's
you're
just
talking yourself out of it.
Yeah, and you definitely need to not talk yourself out of it. The way I see it at the moment is you need like subjective and objective confidence.
Yeah.
You need all of so it doesn't matter what race it might be, but you need the things that are setting you up for success objectively, like a specific workout, training in different weather conditions, so that's not going to put you off on the day, training in the right kit, all of those things are objective.
Experience.
Then you need to work on the subjective things, which are like, do you actually believe that you can do it? Because I think for a long time I was training towards things thinking I couldn't. Yeah. And being like, oh, well, it's fine. It might happen on the day. And it won't happen on the day unless you are like, no, today is the day I'm going to do it.
Well, and I'm thinking about the early stages of the race. You said, oh, I'm going to be really worried about the first 1 or 2 kilometres. Actually, whenever I ran my best, and I did a lot of work with sports psychologists, my coach, my agent on this stuff at the time. And I did run a few 5Ks, not loads, but 3Ks as well.
Yeah.
And the same in the 1500 metres. I know these are short events, but the same thing applies, which was like, I was in the 5K, I was just trying to get to 3K without thinking about anything. Like nothing at all. We'd have a pacemaker or whatever, which you've got me pacing you.
Yeah.
And my whole goal was just, I wasn't even looking at, this is on the track, so it's a bit different, but you're counting down from 12 and a half laps. So I wasn't even looking at the lap counter. And it was just like, I was trying to train myself to literally flick a switch in my head at 5 laps to go, which is 2K to go.
Yeah.
And be like, right, okay, now the race starts. And it's almost like just expend as little energy, but also knowing that because I want to expend as little energy as possible in that first bit, I'm going to feel awful. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to feel rubbish.
I think anyone who's got a big event like Sarah has coming up as well, you can get so nervous the night before and it can blow your sleep. And one of the best bits of advice that I've ever had about that is, even if you can't sleep and you've got a big race, or whether it's, it might not even be running is something you're doing that's big the next day, actually resting and time off your feet is amazing. So if you're sitting there worrying, I can't sleep, you are still resting.
Yeah.
As long as, you're not, the room's not horrifically bright. I always think of my mum's kitchen, which basically looks like, you could go in there and perform owl surgery.
Owl surgery?
Yeah.
Does it have to be particularly bright to perform owl surgery?
It's so bright, literally, they could operate on owls in there.
I want to touch on.
Oh my god!
Does an operating theatre have to be brighter for an owl than, say, a peregrine falcon?
What?
Probably.
What about a pigeon?
Well, it's very tricky, owl surgery.
Is it?
Yeah, it's extremely tricky.
What's
I just
wrong
hate
with
those
this
type of
owl?
atmospheres, where it's so bright. People who use cold light and not warm light. Like
What happened to the
my
owl?
house is very dark. You can't see much. It's
Rick
very atmospheric.
ran into it when he
but
was going
literally,
one pace.
I'm constantly running away from people's homes who it looks like they can perform owl surgery in their kitchen.
I just love the fact that the word owl is actually quite hard to say. And you just keep going, owl surgery.
Can I bring it back to running?
Yeah,
Please.
Sorry.
Please.
So interestingly, whilst I think I'm mentally strong, when I was competing professionally, I hated any sort of long runs. And I would really struggle to do any of my runs that were over sort of half an hour without company. And I would procrastinate for hours. And like the Sunday, the amount of effort I would go to find someone to run with on a Sunday. I would drive an hour and a half to run with a friend or to explore a different route or whatever, rather than just getting out of bed and going for a run on my own. And then my more recent marathon experience, I just didn't have any choice to fit it in around the kids. So going out I did several 2-hour plus runs completely on my own. And I think that changed my perception of being mentally resilient.
So I'm just laughing because you said he'd drive an hour and a half. He never drove to me. And I'm certainly less than an hour and a half.
I mean this in the nicest possible way. When Andy was quite literally training for the Olympics,
you
the
weren't
world
on my list, mate.
stage.
Sorry.
I don't think you were high up the list of training partners. Now, totally different story.
Actually, that's not true, mate. Once I drove to your house to do a run with you, but I couldn't get into the street because you'd blocked it to crane a hot tub in, so I just turned around and went home. Unbelievable.
Oh god.
He was turning up for Pace A Tuesday. Excellent. Well, please do email in podcast@therunningchannel.com. Do you have any other questions about mental resilience or building mental strength in running? Best of luck if you are training for anything right now. You have absolutely got it. And maybe the next time you have a spare 5 minutes, have a little think about what is that thing that you're going to use in that race day situation or in a hard training run to help you get through it, because it might be that extra little 1% that can make all of the difference. Should we talk about some news?
Yes, we shall. So Tokyo Marathon, something we're going to talk about. Rick actually just made us pause the podcast for a good 10 minutes there while he made some notes. So
It wasn't 10 minutes.
wait.
It wasn't 10 minutes. Just
I know exactly what you're writing down, and that is the biggest news to come out of Tokyo Marathon.
Paula Radcliffe?
No.
Oh.
Harry Styles ran Tokyo Marathon. I'm so sorry. It's not the biggest news. It's one of the big newses. Can we talk about how even his pacing was, though?
Yeah, it's a sign of the times that he ran so well.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I was really impressed. And
Pretty sure he hydrated with watermelon sugar.
Well, yeah, I was. To honest you, I was falling over myself when I heard about those times. And as it was, he ran a really good race. In fact, his time was golden.
Done?
Yeah. Thank
That
you.
was a
Thank
slow
you.
clap.
Is that
from
what seriously took you
producer
10 minutes just to
You
write
were just
down?
writing down Harry Styles'
I genuinely, I was impressed because he got to the line and he just thought, lights up, let's go for it.
Oh, Rick. Right, let's talk about his time. Harry Styles ran a marathon in 3 hours and 24 minutes, but that's not the most impressive thing. The most impressive thing is that his first half was 1 hour 42. His second half was 1 hour 42.
He must have trained so hard for this. You know why? Because he lives about 2 miles down the road from me. So imagine the hills he's had to deal with in his training. So he has just gone into that.
That is such a flex.
He's done some.
Ooh, I live near
2 miles is a
Harry
long
Styles.
way. 2 miles is a long way in London.
In London,
a
yeah.
long,
in
long
the
way.
countryside, that's basically
Well,
just
especially
your
with those
driveway.
15% gradients. That
Exactly,
you gotta get over,
exactly. Can put big difference in neighbourhoods, but his neighbourhood, North London, still hilly.
Really?
Yeah, very hilly. So he's trained hard, clearly, for those times.
Well, that
Or
was
he's
very much
escaped
worse, those
to
notes.
the flat place of LA or somewhere else in the world.
Maybe he's there as well. Yeah. Well done, Harry. Anyway.
Well done, Harry.
I
Should we
thought
talk
that-
about
I-
the other people?
Yeah, I thought the news story was that Paula Radcliffe ran. So it's the first marathon in quite a long time. She's 51 now, I think.
Yeah.
Didn't know if you were going to mention Paula Radcliffe, so
You didn't know we were going to talk about that.
no, I didn't know if you were going to mention.
Well, because she's trying to get her 6-star finishes, or she said that's
Yeah,
always
yeah.
been a kind of bucket list for her.
Yes.
And I think that's cool from my perspective. I never thought I'd be motivated to do what I'm doing now, having retired from running. I always thought I would find it difficult to be motivated knowing I was going to be slower than I could have been at my best.
Even more interesting considering she was like elite marathon runner, and now to come back and do the same distance. Still rapid though, 2 hours, 57 minutes, 26 seconds, 10 years after ending her athletics career at the 2015 London Marathon.
Absolutely amazing.
Did she look tired at the end?
She did look quite tired at the end.
She has run a marathon.
But she has run a marathon.
And she's doing
Exactly.
Boston as well, I think.
She is doing Boston. Boston will be super interesting because I think Tokyo is relatively flat as well. And congratulations to our very own Mo, who paced one of his friends Hercules
Great
to
name.
his first sub 3 at Tokyo Marathon as well.
What's bonkers is that Mo went, it's literally only 2 years ago, I think, that he ran his first sub 3 hour marathon, 2:59.
Yeah.
Was kind of all out. That was his max effort. And then he's just run, I think, 2:57 or something
Yeah.
with Hercules in Tokyo as part of Mo's own training for, is he running London?
Yeah, running London. Big A goal for this year is to try and run a championship qualifying time.
Okay.
So best of luck, Mo. Should we also talk about F1?
F1.
Not something that I'm super clued up on. However, the running world has now entered F1. And there's
Formula One.
Formula One. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, no acronyms. Didn't
Yeah.
even know that was an acronym. Is it an acronym? No.
Yeah, for Formula One.
Yeah.
Fine.
F1.
Wow.
She's back.
I'm back. I'm making less sense than ever. So Run GP is transforming F1, Formula One, circuits into world-class running venues, which is very cool.
So I've raced round Goodwood. It's not an F1 circuit, but it is a motor racing circuit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've also run around Silverstone. And then I did a race with, you and Tom came out and filmed it.
In Monza.
In Monza in Italy, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I ran a 5. It's just over 5k, but I did it at 5.2k or something around Monza. It was amazing.
Is there not a annual race at Silverstone?
Yes,
Half
there are different races
There's
there.
loads.
And
The
also,
amazing thing about F1 tracks is they're perfect. The tarmac is
Yeah.
obviously so smooth, but they make you feel so small.
Yeah.
The corners
It
and
kind
the straights
of feels
are vast.
like apocalyptic.
Yes, because no one
Apocalypse.
understands, and it's a very strange
Yeah.
thing to
Andy,
be.
is the one of the park runs in Melbourne in Australia on the Formula One track? Because doesn't Podcast Ben do it?
So I think that's Albert Park, isn't it? I think there is an Albert Park parkrun, but I think the parkrun goes around the lake. I think
Right.
someone will write in and tell us. But because the F1 circuit in Melbourne's not there all of the time, it's a road circuit.
Yes.
So
I think that's why it touches on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to this.
Yeah.
Basically,
The Global Running League.
Yeah, if you are interested, it was introduced last year as the first structured team-based competition in running. Mo Farah's now been brought on board as an advisor, and they're basically going to create an evolution into how running is experienced. And there's going to be live biometrics, digital overlays, and enhanced fan engagement.
Also, you could see someone's like live heart rate and their pace and all that sort of stuff.
I'm guessing that's similar to what you look at when you're watching F1.
Yeah,
Yes?
like
No?
the telemetry or whatever. It won't be 200 miles an hour or 200 kilometers an
Hey,
hour.
give us time, whack a few more carbon plates in, and it might happen.
We could be there.
Anyway, let's answer some questions. Although we're not this week, hang on.
Uh-oh.
So, apparently last week, although I did listen to hear.
No, this was
how you
episode
talked about-
107. We're on episode 110 now. So a few episodes
I was
ago,
there.
we were talking about Rick's marathon and where he should do it.
Oh, and we asked.
Honestly, I can't get away from this, can I?
No.
And we asked, are there any races we should come and do because of the medal or the thing you get at the end of the race? Oh, yeah,
Some of the
sorry, I
pictures
do
were
remember
brilliant.
this.
Some of the pictures were brilliant. And one person sent in a picture of a medal that had one of those little khaki batteries in the back.
Oh, yeah.
What they call
That is
SO32s or something.
Like a coin cell battery.
Style battery. And it had a live clock on the medal.
That is great because you haven't realised yet that the thing on your wrist tells the time. So now you can just look at your medal.
That's true.
Right, should we go through some other ones?
Brilliant.
So Ellie from Weimar,
Weimar.
I think Weimar, yeah.
Weimar in Germany.
The Rennsteiglauf.
Perfect in...
Very, very good.
Thanks.
It's
Honestly.
a cross-country race with multiple distances. The after-race party is legendary. That's 17th of May. Do you fancy that one?
That actually sounds really good fun.
This one, I think, sounds so sick. Darren Walsh from Ireland says the Quadrathon Challenge
Gosh, what's
in
that?
Donegal.
Donegal.
Yeah.
Donegal! Honestly, I got absolutely caned by some Kiwis of the week from some of my pronunciations
Yes, yeah.
I'm
on some
so
races
sorry.
in New
How
Zealand.
do you-
but
Donegal?
Donegal, literally, that takes the biscuit. That
Donegal, I
is
think.
brilliant. God, I missed you last week.
So
Anyway,
I'm so sorry.
Anyway,
This is
Donegal,
why
we'd
I
love
would-
to come and see you. So we'll come over. We'll bring a few biscuits.
This is why I would not make it as a weather person. So this one, the Quadrathon, is 4 marathons in 4 days, and the medal, we'll have to put up a picture of this somewhere. The medal is literally the best thing I've ever seen. I mean, it could be a centerpiece. It could be. It looks like
it's massive, isn't it?
someone's
So we've got
cut
a
off
picture
a
in front
bit
of
of
us we're talking about.
armor from like back in the day.
So you fancy 4 marathons in 4 days, Rick?
No.
What
No?
about Lewis from Basingstoke?
Oh,
sorry.
Basingstoke.
Oh, Basingstoke, yeah.
Basingstoke. Basingstoke.
come on! You're both like double my age. I haven't heard of all the places in the
double
world
your
yet.
age. As if.
I knew that would
we
annoy him.
did. We might have aged it last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. I am not 27 yet.
I was right. I know.
I'm a spring chicken. I'm 26 years young.
Sorry.
Yeah. So the Hampshire Hoppet has been recommended from Lewis, which is a 4.5 option, and the medal is always awesome. Sometimes it's a bottle opener. But you also get an engraved pint glass for doing the marathon and a half pint glass for doing the half. Filled
That's
with
cool.
beer as well, of course.
Oh, that's great. Love that. Or that one, Rick?
I'll do the half.
Okay. It's not quite what
Is that what you wanted to speak to me about later?
Have I said I want to speak to you later? Like, see me after class? Did I write that on your script
You
last
both
week?
said I wanted to talk to you. Oh, well, I know. Carry on. It was this.
I think that's
It was
us.
this.
I think that's us uninviting you to lunch.
Yeah.
And then finally, Mel from
You're really paranoid about
Here
being
we
able to
go.
say.
Lulworth,
Yeah.
as in Lulworth
Lulworth in
Cove.
Dorset.
I've been there.
Yeah.
I had to email in to tell you about a particularly cool medal you get for running the Giant's Head Trail Marathon in Dorset. The race itself is a little hilly, but the spectacular views, party atmosphere, and camping weekend vibes make up for the hard work you have to put in. Plus, of course, the medal, which, I know I've seen this one, has a fidget spinner of
I love Mel's description of this.
a man with a rather large winky. Matching
Winky's
the
such a
chalk
good word.
picture on the hill which the race takes its name from.
So
this
there's
is
the winky.
great.
The winky spins all the way around,
Isn't it on your birthday? Is your birthday the 21st of June? No, 20th.
20th, yeah.
Well, the day after your birthday, you could get a medal with a man with a rather large winky on it.
That sounds
Sign
great.
me up.
Yeah. See you in June.
There is nothing I've been dying to fidget with more.
Oh, there's There's so many
Great.
avenues we could go down, but we'll keep it relatively friendly.
Well, that was spectacular. I mean, we've basically gone on for exactly the same amount of time that we did with Jess last week.
Which proves it's not me or Jess. It's definitely a problem with you two.
Well, there you go.
Rick stopped bothering to make any hand gestures, so that was a big feature of the podcast for the first 18 months.
I did
you
some last week.
frantically waving at us to stop
do
talking.
Doing
but I
like
think
a
you two are better at
mixing
keeping
bowl.
to time nowadays.
Apparently not.
Yeah.
Well, we love it though, and there's been lots of requests to make it slightly longer. So we've backdoored that with Rick and just made it longer without telling him.
If you
Certainly
are out
done that.
for a longer run, you're welcome. Enjoy the rest of it. And if you're not out for a longer run, don't worry. We'll see you next week with another longer podcast. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.